I actually won a murder trial where we ran a self-defense case and I didn't have to put my client on the stand.
Oh,
Right.
cool.
Yeah. So
So somebody was there.
no, 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 no. It was absolutely a 100% a black box. There were two people inside, one person left, my client. What happened was my client gave an interrogation to the police and laid it all out for them.
Wow.
And
Facto testimony.
is the facto testimony. So what happened was the state stupidly tried to put in they had to put some of it in because this is the only way they were going to put my guy on the trigger. And so they put some of his statement in, and then I objected that they needed to put the rest of all of it
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
And so they put all of it in. And at that point, I didn't need to put my client on the stand, and we won. And that's my favorite win so far because we had that case pending for almost 2 years. On the eve of trial, 2 weeks before trial, the chief criminal deputy for the prosecuting agency calls me and he literally goes, Joel, what are we going to do about this poo poo case? And I said, well, you could always dismiss it. And he just starts laughing. Said, well, that's not happening. I said, okay, misdemeanor. He says, nah, I think I can give you a class 6 undesignated, which means that it's treated as a felony until it's turned into a misdemeanor at the end of probation. So we go from the guy's facing 25 to life. Actually, I guess it would have been natural life, facing natural life to we'll offer him a class 6 that he can turn into a misdemeanor after 3 years of probation. I go to my client. I tell him, dude, you got to take this plea. And he asks me, will I lose my right to vote? And I said, well, yeah, only while you're on probation. Once you finish your probation, we turn into a misdemeanor, you get your rights to vote back. Like, not doing it. Like, because of your right to vote, he was a veteran. He believed in his civil liberties and stuff. Like, dude, I'm telling you, you need to take this plea. He says, I believe in you, Joel. I believe in you. I'm going to trial. So we went to trial and we won. I walk back to the jail and I tell him, dude, you should have taken that plea. He says, I know you think that, but I'm glad I didn't. And I said, well, I'm glad you didn't too, but you should have.
Uh,
So what first drew you into criminal defense? Was there a specific moment, influence, or experience that set you on this path?
you should know that I was a private equity real estate transactions lawyer prior to criminal defense.
Oh,
I went to,
that makes you unique. That in itself gives you a unique origin story.
yeah, I started a big law in Boston. In the litigation group. I don't want to bore anybody, but I started in the litigation group, and this was sort of in the late 2000s when things were, I think, still a little difficult for law firms. And I got passed around to, we ended up working out, but the real estate transactions group in a large international firm. And I am not a transactional lawyer. It's just, I had a nice ability to generate business, but I wasn't a grinder. I just wasn't, it wasn't interesting to me. And I really just liked getting business more and generating business, which I was fairly successful at. But what ended up happening was at the time there was a show or a movie or a documentary called Making a Murderer. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
And I was a transactional lawyer watching that. And I'm like, with no disrespect to our brothers who that fellow's initial legal team, but I was like, wow, I don't know anything about criminal defense. This seems awesome, and I could do way better. Please, right? Just like not the. I think with Dean, what's his? I can't remember his name, but
He's Strang and
yes, yeah. No, I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about the other, the people some people before who let Brendan Dassey sort of like be interviewed without them, if I remember correctly, or he was like being interviewed in the school by the school resource officer. And even then, I mean, other than a class or two in law school, I didn't know much about criminal defense, but I knew that was a tactical blunder. And so I think I reached out to, I figured out who the public defender agency was in Massachusetts. I'm like, hey, do you guys need any help? And they're like, yeah, but like, you've got to do this training and you're a transactional lawyer. What the fuck is going on? Like, there's a 12-week training. Like, thanks, but like, this is not what you think it is. I was like, okay. And at that time, I then made a decision with my then girlfriend, now wife, to move to Nantucket. Actually, I don't know if you guys know where that is in Arizona, but it's an island off of Cape Cod. Have you heard of Nantucket? Yeah. Okay.
I'm familiar with. I've never been, but I'm familiar that it's the Northeast for sure.
Yeah. And so I went out there and I was working remotely, and it's sort of just, I made a couple buddies who said, look, man, you should really be in the courtroom. I said, yeah, I don't know. Okay, let me see what that's about. And I left the big firm and I opened up a small shop I got court appointed work, criminal defense court appointed work. I did a couple real estate things. I think I did a couple family law things. I was kind of this generalist. And the criminal defense, I think, so criminal defense is not easy, but crimes are composed of elements, right? And does the evidence fit the elements? Right? It really is what this is. And how can you chip away at that, or what's your defense? And that came pretty natural to me and was easier to do. And then from a business perspective, I kind of realized that I'm not saying I'm Clarence Darrow or a genius, because I'm not either of those things. But coming from working really hard at the big firm and getting trained by big firm lawyers and processes and systems, I realized that I could take that model and apply that to criminal defense, which really nobody was doing, and really nobody's doing it now, but we're kind of doing that. And I realized that it's just a good fit for my natural abilities and then my sort of abilities as a business developer. Just kind of made sense. I saw a tremendous opportunity. So, and around that time, I think I was reading a book called The One Thing. Have you heard of this?
I have not.
Oh, man, you should get it. The
One
One
Thing?
Thing. Yeah. The premise behind it's simple. It's basically like, look, if you want to be first class at something, like if you want to be the best, a master at it, you got to do one thing, right? Michael Jordan didn't play, well, he did play basketball and baseball, but the point is, like, people don't do, it's hard to be a generalist, right? Your heart surgeon is also not a general internist, right? Like specialization is the key, right? And so that concept really stuck with me. And then I decided, all right, my one thing is going to be criminal defense. So that's sort of the origin story of how I got here.
Very cool. I'm amazed that I was very moved by that documentary too, but I was squarely within my public defender career at the time that I was watching Making a
Oh, cool.
So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I was moved by it too. I was moved. That's a good way to put it. I was moved. Yeah.
I was too. But I wasn't moved into a whole different career like you were. So I think you were moved more than I was for sure. But that's a great origin story. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, thanks for asking.
Every defense attorney has at least one case that really sticks with them. For you, is there a particular case, whether it's a win or a loss, or just a turning point that has had a lasting impact on how you practice law today?
Oh, man, that's a good question, Joel. The answer is yeah, all of them, right? Because there's something about all of them that really, whether it's good or bad, sticks in my craw and I can't stop thinking about. But I mean, look, I do a lot of sexual assault offenses, and I think those are really difficult because people assume that the folks that purportedly commit these crimes are like cat burglars in the middle of the night with like fucking Batman shit on their face and like going through the windows and like, and I'm sure that happens, but there's also there's a lot of people who are just wrongly accused, as you know. And I think those really are hard for me because people's lives get really fucked up. And
Just by the accusations alone.
it's over, man. I mean, I've got a case, I don't want to get too deep into this, but I've got a live case right now where this kid's life is over. And it just by being accused, I mean, again, without getting into the details, it was, let's just say life is going well, then it stopped and it's difficult for him. And so that's been really tricky to deal with. But I think maybe you've dealt with this too, but so much of this stuff is out of your control, right? Like you think you've spotted a good legal issue and you bring it to the judge and you really think you have it, right? And the law is on your side and so are the facts. And then you bring it to the judge and here she's denied. And you're like, what the fuck? How? Right. And so I think I think about that stuff a lot. And really I think it's the book by Brian Gardner and Antonin Scalia called Yeah. Which you've clearly read. And
but I'm familiar with it, and I know some of what's inside of it. But
yeah, it's a great book. But one that I think when it talks, it's like, look, don't blame the judge, right? Like it's your fault. right? I think it says that, right? And so I think about that a lot too. Like, okay, what could I have done better here? How did this go wrong? Because I think it should have gone right, but clearly somebody didn't agree with me. So how can I make this better?
Yeah. 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 And that's a valuable lesson in itself, right? It's such a common lament for us to blame the judge or bemoan the judge's ruling. It takes a special, unfortunately, a somewhat rare attorney to go, no, no, it's on me. Like I need to figure out what I should have done differently so that the next time I can actually persuade the judge. And sometimes you can't. Anyway, I don't want to talk about myself because then we'll end up taking way too long. For everything you say, I've got stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But it's not a conversation, it's an interview. So let me stay disciplined. Stay disciplined. Moving on to running your own practice. Running your own law practice isn't just about the law, as you well know. It's about leadership, business, resilience. So looking back on your time leading your own firm, your own practice, what's the most important lesson you've learned as an owner that you didn't expect going into it?
Well, you got to do one thing. That's what I talked about earlier. Yeah, I think it's folks who do PI and criminal defense and family law. I don't mean to disparage my brothers or our fellow brothers and sisters, but I think that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
And I think you want to specialize in one thing. And I think you want to be an inch wide and a mile deep. Right. And I think people really respect that. And so I think one, you've got to focus on one thing and just one thing. What's that Russian proverb? He who chases two rabbits catches none.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you just have to do one thing. So you have to identify what your one thing is and you have to do it. I think you've got to have an entrepreneurial mindset, obviously. And I think you got to be willing to take some risks and take some big swings. And generally, I think when you think back on when person thinks back on their career, like things generally work out, right? Like I've never really met somebody that's, I'm sure it's happened, but taking a big swing and fallen and could not get back up.
Mm.
And so I think you have to have some gumption. And I think, I don't know about you, are you a solo practitioner?
I am. Mm-hmm.
If you're going to run a team, right, which I do, I have a team, you are part of a greater system and you got to treat people right. Like if you're going to have employees, they need to be, it's part of a team, right? It's not you work for me, it's we work together. So I think that's been a really valuable, this firm has gotten to where it's gotten or become what it's become. Yes, because of me as the leader, but because I think I've handpicked an exceptional team. And I think I treat them right. Maybe they can hear this and they're all laughing, but and that's really
How many attorneys do you have working in your outfit?
there's 3 attorneys, a paralegal, and sort of like a marketing tech person. We're looking to hire a lateral partner, and we're doing that. And we're growing. I think when we have this conversation again in a year, I think so. 3 lawyers, so there's 5 of us. I think there'll probably be another 3 to 5 in the next year.
Wow. All right. Nice.
So
I'm looking at expanding as well.
I'm happy to talk to you about that.
Yeah. This certainly does not need to be our last conversation.
I don't know. I don't think it's going to be.
I hope it won't be. I hope it won't be. And I agree with you that ultimately you have to learn not only to delegate, but to respect the people you delegate to so that they receive the tasks willingly, right? You don't want people coming to work and begrudging the work.
That's exactly right. And I think there's this great book by I think Dan Martell called "Buy Back Your Time."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've read that, but if you're thinking about starting a firm, you should check that out. But it's kind of the one thing concept where there are some things that you're really good at, right? There's some things that Joel is really good at, or there's some things that Nate's are really good at, and there's some things I'm really bad at, and I'm sure there's some things that you're really bad at. True leverage is obviously just doing the shit that you're good at, right? And delegating the shit that you're good at and the shit that you like. Hope we can swear on this thing. And that's the key to success, I think, is figuring out what you're good at and then how to delegate this. Who can do the things that you're bad at? Who likes to do them and who can do them well? That's really where the magic is.
Right. Right on. Right on. And then my last regularly scheduled question is, if you could sit down with your younger self or a new lawyer just starting out in criminal defense What one piece of practical advice would you give them to make their journey smoother?
Well, I don't think I can give simple one piece. So I'm going to break your rule on kind of.
Right. With my blessing, go for it.
I mean, I think people, if number one, if you want to be a lawyer, you need to be pretty damn sure what that means. And so, especially if you want to be a criminal defense lawyer, I think it's very important for people to talk to other lawyers who are students who are in law school or young lawyers. I think really need to understand what they're getting to and what this looks like and how fun it is, but also how difficult it is. I think those people need to have conversations with themselves and other lawyers about really how this is done. Like what is it like to, sounds great to draft a brief, but what happens when you have to do 10 of them in a week, right? And it sounds great to prepare a case, and you see this stuff on TV where it's whatever legal movie that you're watching, a legal drama that you're watching. It's like, yeah, that seems awesome. And but that's one case. What happens when you have 20, 30, 50, right? 100? How do you divide your time and your efforts into being successful at each one of those things? So I think people really need to think hard about what they're getting into. I would encourage people to read as much as possible. Read as much fiction, because really what are we? We're storytellers. Read as much fiction as you can. Read all the classic books about lawyering. Was it The Art of Advocacy by Stryker? Have you read that? It's a good one. The F. Lee Bailey books, the Alan Dershowitz books. Oh, did I lose you, bud?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here now.
So I don't think I'm not sure there's any one piece of advice I would give somebody, but I would say really just make sure you're curious and you're hungry and that you always want. That's right. I think that's how you do it.
Right on. What's your favorite law movie or legal movie?
So it's funny, like, did you hear about the Karen Reed case up here? Everybody in Massachusetts was going nuts over Karen Reed. And every day, someone big, oh, you're a defense lawyer. What do you think about Karen Reed? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I don't watch anything. So it's like, I don't really keep up with the current events on the law stuff. And in similar fashion, like, I don't like really get super deep into the law movies or the law shows. I did really like Injustice for All. I think the 70s or 80s movie with,
I think that might have been Al Pacino.
yeah. I liked that. I really like the Scott, I read a lot, so I really like the Presumed Innocent book by Scott Turow. I really like the Grisham books, man. All the Grisham books, King of Torts, Time to Kill. I really like all of those. I think he just died, but there's an author by the name of Greg Iles. Have you heard of this fellow? I don't know if he would agree with me on this, but I guess he writes legal thrillers. Natchez Burning, Mississippi Blood, and there's the trilogy. I loved those. They all involve, like, the protagonist is like former prosecutor, and like there's some trial scenes in there. It's pretty fun. I like that. And then what's the Harrison Ford one? I think it's based on Presumed Innocent. Doc, I think they just redid it. What, do you know what I'm talking about?
I can't think of a Harrison Ford legal movie, actually.
Oh yeah. What the hell is the name of that movie? Yeah, it's a really good one. And they just redid it with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay.
Well, what about yours?
For me, it's got to be My Cousin Vinny every time. Like,
It's
just a classic.
the Three Utes.
Three Utes, and everything. That movie's so quotable.
What are these things? Those are trees. Yeah.
The best. And then the procedure, the courtroom procedure is it's better at portraying the way a courtroom functions than it has any business being.
I'm going to agree with you on that. Yeah.
It's sneaky because it's a comedy. You don't expect it, but I think when I need to show my because I teach trial advocacy at the law school here, and
Nice.
I'm often referring them. Go check out my cousin Vinny. Go watch the way he cross examines the government's witnesses. Go watch the way he impeaches them based off of their lack of capacity to observe. That's your master class right there. Yeah. And they go look at me because these kids, they get younger. Well, they don't get younger. They get older and older every year, like McConaughey says in Dazed and Confused. But
I stay the same. No, they stay the same age. I keep getting older and older.
I keep getting older, but they stay the same. age. All right, all right, all right. So anyway, so I love my cousin Vinny. That's the one that I go to. But the one that really motivated me to become a lawyer, ironically, was The Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Oh, that's a movie from the early 90s. Al Pacino plays the devil, and Keanu Reeves plays this hotshot trial lawyer out of Florida, some rural part of Florida. They get plucked out, handpicked by this guy from New York, played by Al Pacino, turns out to be the devil, to go work for this high-powered law firm in New York City. And it's all this very Faustian battle for Keanu Reeves' character's soul, sort of. I don't want to give it away, but it's got this really cool gothic imagery going, and Al Pacino is over the top. He's got this one of the best monologues. He has this great monologue towards the end, which is so much fun to watch him deliver. It's worth giving it a shot. In terms of, I mean, I haven't seen it in many years. I can't say how well the law holds up, but there are definitely some concepts in there about how to represent despicable clients that I still carry with me to this day. There's a moment where he basically throws his client under the bus to make him look like he's been cheating on his wife the whole time, but the client is on trial for murder, and the client gets really upset with him. Like, what are you doing? It's like, dude, I don't care if you were stooping the nanny, as long as it means you couldn't have possibly committed this murder. I would much rather the jury think you're a piece of shit cheater than a murderer. And he just shuts his client up. And I go, yep, that's exactly right. Like, I will, if I'm defending you for murder, I would much rather you be unfaithful to your wife.
Yeah, yeah. Do you do murders?
I do.
Oh, really? Good God. We don't.
You don't? No? Oh, they're so much fun.
I know. I've heard that. Do you do you all private or do you do some appointed cases?
So my murders so far have all been appointed. I haven't had. That's the thing, right? Like the people who are getting prosecuted for murder don't tend to have money, and when they do have money, all of us private outfits are competing for that guy. And I've only been in practice for myself for 3 years, so I don't have any illusions that someone is going to land on my Google profile and go, oh, that's the guy. There are some attorneys who are very well established here. I'm waiting for them to retire. But I'm keeping my chops sharp with the appointed murders that I have. I've got 3 in state court, 1 in federal court, and they're a blast. I love the murders. The sex cases are really fun too, but they're so much trickier. Like, it's harder for a jury to wrap their minds around the scenario in a sex case than in a murder case. Like, I can sell self-defense
Oh, me too.
pretty,
Yeah.
and I can sell mistake of fact about consent.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I don't do murders, but I do like self-defense cases a lot. Like, if I had my choice, I'd do self-defense cases all day.
Oh, they're the best.
Yeah, I like putting my client up.
I actually won a murder trial where we ran a self-defense case, and I didn't have to put my client on the stand.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so
Somebody was there.
No. It was absolutely a 100% a black box. There were 2 people inside, 1 person left, my client. What happened was my client gave an interrogation to the police and laid it all out for them. And
Facto testimony.
Is the facto testimony. So what happened was the state stupidly tried to put in they had to put some of it in because this is the only way they were going to put my guy on the trigger. And so they put some of his statement in, and then I objected that they needed to put the rest of all of it in.
Yeah.
And so they put all of it in. And at that point, I didn't need to put my client on the stand, and we won. And that's my favorite win so far, because we had that case pending for almost 2 years. On the eve of trial, 2 weeks before trial, the chief criminal deputy for the prosecuting agency calls me, and he literally goes, Joel, what are we going to do about this poo-poo case? And I said, well, you could always dismiss it. And he just starts laughing. I said, well, that's not happening. I said, okay, misdemeanor. He says, nah, I think I can give you a class 6 undesignated, which means that it's treated as a felony until it's turned into a misdemeanor at the end of probation. So we go from the guy's facing 25 to life. Actually, I guess it would have been natural life, facing natural life, to we'll offer him a class 6 that he can turn into a misdemeanor after 3 years of probation. I go to my client. I tell him, dude, you got to take this plea. And he asks me, will I lose my right to vote? And I said, well, yeah, only while you're on probation. Once you finish your probation, we turn into a misdemeanor, you get your rights to vote back. Like, not doing it. Like, because of your right to vote, he was a veteran. He believed in his civil liberties and stuff. I was like, dude, I'm telling you, you need to take this plea. He says, I believe in you, Joel. I believe in you. I'm going to trial. So we went to trial and we won. I walk back to the jail and I tell him, dude, you should have taken that plea. He says, I know you think that, but I'm glad I didn't. And I said, well, I'm glad you didn't too, but you should have. So that was my favorite trial win to date. I've had a few, but that one was great.
Man.
Yeah. Appreciate it, Nate. Thanks so much.
Nice to meet you, Joel.
Nice to meet you too. Bye.
Bye now.